Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review. And this time I'm reviewing another film for another anniversary review. This film was released all the way back in 2002, so 15 years, and I would pretty much say 15 years later, I would say that the film didn't age well, I would say. Now, with this review, it's a review and a rant, though, but it's not me. I'm not all mad and pissed off about it. I mean, I'm just saying it because I pointed all the things that's why people don't like this film. To me, I think it's a time waster. It's a time waster at most. But there's things I did like about the film. So that's why it's a review / rant. But it's not me full on mad though. But there's a lot of flaws and a lot of stuff I did not like about the film. But there's stuff I did like about the film. So that's why I'm putting it in the middle, 50-50, review / rant. So this one it's another Disney film. Because I usually say a lot of good things about Disney films because I love Disney. So I enjoy pretty much like almost all Disney films, but there's always bound to be some films that either don't age well, especially for live action films. It's mainly live action films, but films are just straight out bad. So this film was released back in 2002 as a film called The Country Bears, and it's also a film that I wanted to review for some time as well. So yeah, The Country Bears, which is based on one of the old Disney attractions. It was called the Country Bears, the Country Bear Jamboree, and this is the second film that was made based on one of the attractions at Disneyland. The first one being the Tower in Terror, that was the one which was made for television. The one that starred Steve Guttenberg and Kirsten Dunst back in 1997. So that was the first one. This is the second film, and of course 2002, the next year after 2003, where Disney made it big with the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. So, but The Country Bears, I would say it's a film that didn't age well though. But it came out during the summer of 2002. The film got a lot of negative things, but from critics, and the film flopped. A $35 million budget and made about only $18 million. So if the film was a flop, has a 30% Rotten Tomatoes and has a 4.0 on IMDb. And it's understandable why people don't like the film. Which rightfully so. Which is understandable because I know a while back my friend Peter Freakout 10, he reviewed this and he hated the film to death. He just hated this film to death. I'm sure I've said that he hates this film more than I do. I'm not like, he was very mad about the film, but I'm not that very mad about it. Because I'm 50-50 on it, that's why I'm putting a review and a rant, because there's things I liked about it and things I didn't like about it. But he hates that film more than I do, which rightfully so, I wouldn't blame him. But, the film it's directed by this guy, which I'm not Peter Hastings. I don't know who this guy is. So, but as for the cast, stars, or you have this young bear cub named Barry. Usually Barry it's like Barry, but Barry, bear because he's a bear. Beary, and he's voiced by Haley Joel Osment. Haley Joel Osment, famous from The Sixth Sense. He's this young bear who's been a fan of this country music band called the Country Bears. And I like how this film opens up. The film opens up with the Country Bears doing one of their concerts, from back in the day, and which honestly that's one of the things I liked about the film. The opening song I liked about Let It Ride, because I'm honestly I am a sucker for country music because I like George Strait. Yeah, I do like I like country music, so but to me George Strait was the best one. But I like the opening song Let It Ride. No, you got to let it ride, let it ride, let it ride. Yeah, I honestly like that song. So, and then the Bears, you got the Bear, the bands, you got Ted, his brother Fred, then you got Zeb, and you got another one named Tennessee. So they're like performing their farewell song because the band was breaking up. And Barry, he's a young bear who is a huge fan of the band, and of course he's adopted, which they say, oh, if we even ask, was it because he's adopted to this human family, which yeah he is adopted, but I'm saying, is he adopted? You just said yes, you were adopted, but it's saying it doesn't matter who you are, you're family. And the father is played by Stephen Tobolowsky, which I've mentioned this guy a few times. He had a little role in The Glimmer Man, which was supposed to be the supposed killer, and he was in Wild Hogs, the sheriff, and he's been Garfield the movie, Happy Chapman. He's been in the movies, so you would recognize this guy. So he plays the father of the family, and the guy this older Barry has this older human brother who is a complete douchebag. That's what he is, because he says the whole thing straight out. You were adopted. Here's your picture. Here's with gives you like this collar, and he's being told douchebag basically, which is enough for him to run away, and where he goes to where the Country Bears, sang at the Country Bear Hall. So he goes to Country Bear Hall, where he had these two other bears, one named Big Al, which he's kind of like the groundskeeper of the place. Like he's always complaining about, keep off the grass. And you have this another bear named Henry, who's like kind of like to say like he was like the manager of the band. And of course, the Country Bear Hall is in big debt. It's behind like $20,000 in debt to pay, or it's going to be torn down by the bank. And now, what get into one of the issues that why I like I said, things I liked about the film, things I didn't like about it. One of the main issues is that sadly this film stars Christopher Walken, and it's like Alec Baldwin when he started Cat in the Hat. Alec Baldwin was completely, utterly embarrassing in that film. Sadly, I would say the same thing with Christopher Walken. He's very embarrassing in this film. For a top-notch actor like Christopher Walken, who I do enjoy, he's That's the thing. He's embarrassing in this film. It's embarrassing to see him in this, acting all goofy and all that. He's the guy who wants to destroy, to tear down Country Bear Hall. And which is kind of funny to see him, it's funny Christopher Walken standing and talking next to bears in suits. And that's which leads to another thing. One thing I liked about the film. The suits, the bear suits, I thought they were well done. I did like the bear suits. So that the lipping with with their mouth, like get their lip curls up, matches with their expressions of their face and with their eyes and all that. Especially when the bear suits are made by Jim Henson's company. Yeah. So Jim Henson's company helped make the bear suits. I thought they were pretty well done. I'll give it a thumbs up positive to this because I thought the full on bear suits were good. So that's one thing I liked about it. Because hey, it's Jim Henson's company, they always do good job making suits for not only for the Muppets and all that, and but other stuff for creature suits and all that. So yeah, that's a good thing I liked about it. But sadly though, Chris Walken, he's embarrassing embarrassing in this film because, like I said, he wants to tear down the Country Bear Hall, and Barry's there talking with Henry, saying about let's get the band back together, and actually he agrees to it. So they get the old the tour bus, and the driver named Rhodey is played by MC Gainey, which the past couple times I reviewed this time. The past couple of films I reviewed star this guy. He was in. I mentioned his name. He was in Breakdown. He was one of the bad guys. And he was also in Con Air. He was the character named Swamp Thing, the prisoner who flew the plane. But he's been in other films too. But I remember I reviewed my films for my birthday month of June, Breakdown and Con Air. This guy MC Gainey, you recognize. He's like usually has the guy with the long hair and the mustache. So, he's a guy who drives the bus. Although he has this thing with his chicken, which after all this time he says the chicken's a boy, but until later it says, oh, it's a girl, which is a kind of a pointless joke. Oh, my chicken's a girl. Nah, that's kind of a pointless joke. So So as they're driving, the first bear they pick up is Fred, Betterhead. He says he's working security, but he gets in a little part in this music video. One second here. There. Don't worry. Let me get my desk away with the glass. And so he agrees to it. So he comes along, and then the next one that they pick up is Zeb Reuter. He's the one that plays like the fiddle, and the voice who does Zeb is actually voiced by Stephen Root, which I mentioned I just mentioned as well a couple times past reviews. Like he recently appeared in Get Out. He was that blind guy who wanted that character Chris's body for his eyes. And which he also, like I mentioned before, he voiced it Chode in that dull anime show Tripping the Rift. So yeah, that's Stephen Root who voices Zeb. And of course, also he was also in Dodgeball as well. You gotta get mean, you gotta get angry. Ah. So he says he doesn't want to though, but and which he says he owes money to this woman, which is actually I forgot that Queen Latifah was in this. Queen Latifah, she's like this this woman, which she calls herself Cha-Cha. Well, was Zeb calls her Cha-Cha, and I was like, really, that's Queen Latifah. I forgot that she was in this. So he owes money to her, and then Barry makes a deal that if he outsings this other singer, then he owes her nothing. And of course he does when he does play. He does well, and that's it for that. And now the next one they're gonna pick up is Tennessee, which he's having like basically he's acting like a crybaby because he had a girlfriend named Trixie, broke up, and he's like he has a marriage counselor now, and which he sucks at his job because he every time he tries to talk with a couple here, he brings up about his relationship, he starts crying about it. But so he goes along with them anyway, and then they're going to while what's going on, you get with the family, since they consider that he's run away or say that he's kidnapped. Well, they say that he's kidnapped. It was a misunderstanding, and you get to another problem, which these two dumb cops, which I didn't think they were funny, and it's actually one of the guy. There's one cop who named Cheats. One is named Ham. One name is Cheats. Like get ham and cheese, but it's one's name is Cheats. The one who wears like this fake mustache. That's actually the same guy who plays Rex from Napoleon Dynamite. My name is Rex, and found an attack with our self-defense system. Diedrich Bader, that plays his officer, and actually he's actually the same guy who plays Ted in one of the Country Bears. Not the singing voice, but the regular voice when Ted is not singing. So yeah, he not only plays the officer in this, and he also voices Ted Betterhan, who's like the lead singer for the Country Bears, and the brother to Fred. So he has those two roles, a voice role and a physical role. Honestly, he voices better as the bear than he plays the officer, because he's not funny as the officer with his mustache and all the jokes he has with his other officer, which the jokes between them is just not funny. And which is actually the guy who plays the other officer. That's the guy that's Daryl Mitchell, who was in Galaxy Quest. He was one of the ones, the crewmates of Tim Allen's. Yeah, I forgot that he was in that. Yeah, so that's Daryl Mitchell from Galaxy Quest, played that one of the crew members of Tim Allen's. I forgot though that was him in Galaxy Quest. Yeah, he plays the other officer, which is he was better off in Galaxy. He was better acted in Galaxy Quest than in this film. The jokes between the officers were not funny. And then they get busy as he stops as Barry calls his family that he's all right, and then he sees a sign that says Trixie, which is the girlfriend that broke up with Tennessee. So he goes to this place where she's at, and of course they get back, and then they move on to get Ted to come along. Which Ted, he doesn't want to get back together with the band. He's by himself. And a part where they stop by this huge mansion, which they thought it was his because they thought he's still rich. And they talk to a gardener saying that if he lives here, and that's the gardener who is played by Elton John. So yes, Elton John. Yeah, he has a cameo appearance in this. He's a gardener, and he's like, "Oh, you're the Country Bears," and hey, well, and he gets cut off. He's like, "Oh, because you must be a fan." And the guy, the bear, Zeb, he says, "No, that guy looks like Elton John." Nah, he's taller. And Elton John doing that. Elton John. Every time I hear every time I mention that, I hear the name Elton John, which I have his song, which is my favorite song of his. Of course, that was the Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King. Anytime Elton John gets bring up is the song from Lion King or Rockin' Man. Rockin' Man. But yeah, so he has a cameo appearance there. They go to this country club where there's this wedding at, and they see him with the thing they think is this whole party's his. But he doesn't want him there. He doesn't want to kick him out. But when his brother Fred sees him, he's just a singer for this wedding singer, and it's like, oh, you don't have to lie to us. You're family, but you're going anyway. And I did get a chuckle when he says, "But you're going anyway," and he goes just punches him and knocks him out. I got a chuckle out of that. He just goes and punches him and knocks him out to drag him back on the bus. So, but he still doesn't want to go, and tells Barry, saying we're not family. Of course, this upsets him as he runs away. And of course, figuring how far he must have been when he ran away from his home, he runs away all the pack on foot. and then while that's happening, you get this very embarrassing moment with Christopher Walken again. Now this is very, from a guy who's a talented actor. I enjoy Christopher Walken. He was much funnier in Mouse Hunt. Mouse Hunt, where he was the exterminator, Caesar. The way he's trying to kill the mouse. Obviously, he was much funnier in Mouse Hunt than in this film. Because you see Christopher Walken, he's just demolishing models of the Country Bear Hall, saying, "Oh no, oh no!" And you see him dance, doing a little dance. He's wearing green bunny slippers, and he's in his boxers. He's in his underwear. And just to see him like that, it was just, I was like, oh, Christopher Walken, what's going on? This is not you. This is very embarrassing. And honestly, I think he was much funnier. He had a much funnier character. He had a much funnier character in 9 Lives. That the film came out last year with Kevin Spacey when he was the cat, and Christopher Walken, he was the guy who he hears Kevin Spacey as the cat. Honestly, his character was much better than in this film. So yeah, Christopher Walken was much better in 9 Lives than in this film. Yeah, because you see him dance around with boxers, and he's wearing green bunny slippers, and he's saying, "Oh no, oh no," while demolishing the stadium over and over again. But then Ted goes to Barry's house, and he apologizes. He says, he says sorry, so he wants to wants him to come back. And by the time that happens, Christopher Walken has already taken the rest of the band and the bus, holds him at gunpoint. I mean, why hold him at gunpoint? They're just bears. What are they gonna fight back? Well, they are bears, but they're country bears, so I'm sure that they're not the fighting type. But yeah, he takes him, holding him at gunpoint, and once again, another embarrassing thing from Christopher Walken, because he wants to get revenge on the country bears, because 30 years ago, his character, Christopher Walken's character, reason why it's because back 30 years ago, when he was a kid, a teenager, at this talent show, under a different name, he was an armpit farter. That's what he was. Making rhythm with making our armpit sounds. and the Country Bears beat him, and it said that he hit Zeb with a chair. So that character, so now, well, at first I didn't know what he was talking about until he started doing the things like, oh, you're that guy. And that's another thing. That's this. Chris Walken now first it was him dancing around his boxers, and now he's literally doing armpit fart sounds. Like, Christopher Walken, come on. You're a great actor. Which, honestly, I would say that on Alec Baldwin, he's much more embarrassing in Cat in the Hat. And I would say Cat in the Hat is much worse than this. That one I got mad at. That one I ranted on. You can still check that out on my channel. Yeah, I would still say Cat in the Hat is still much worse than Country Bears. I mean, there are things I liked about it though, but Christopher Walken. I mean, when you see him doing this, I don't know. I would still pick Alec Baldwin. He's still much more embarrassing than Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, it's not his fault. It's the script that told him to do this stuff, so it's not his fault. But yeah, see him doing the armpit sound, just oh my god, this is Christopher Walken. Come on. But so he locks him in, goes back to the City Hall, not City Hall, Country Bear Hall. Well, the whole family, since they couldn't get Ted in the van, so they hoist him on his back with a boat, and you get this whole pointless thing where every time they make a turn, he almost looks like, oh, he's falling out, like, whoa, whoa, and then they stop at the place, and the boat flies, crash through the building, and lets them out. And so they get there, and the whole place is the Country Bear Hall. It's empty, and Chris Walken's there. Which they look, the whole place is empty. So it means no saving the hall. But Al, he has everybody there. They were just out back because he didn't want anybody on his front lawn. So they all get let in, and Chris Walken is getting pushed back. It's like, oh, I'll get you for this, Bears. You know, like a typical villain. I'll get you for this. Or, I hate you, Bears, whatever he said. It's the same thing for a typical cliche villain. I'll get you for this, Bears. And he could basically said that, though, by saying, I hate you, Bears. You know, but it's basically him saying, I'll get you for this. So then the band starts playing, and Barry, he's now one of them. He has his guitar, and they all start singing at the performance, and everyone does well, and they got enough money to save the hall. And and then during the credits, you get like celebrities talking about the Country Bears. One of them, you see country music singer Willie Nelson on there, which you saw at the beginning of the film on the tape of it. Willie Nelson. And then you get Queen Latifah, which as herself, but then she was playing the other character named Cha-Cha. I don't know. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Well, it's forgettable. So when they picked up Tennessee, they're at this diner, and this waitress recognizes them and starts, you know, I revised one of your songs, and we'll start singing. And you get this whole musical thing, which ordinary people, for some reason, like old ladies, for some reason, they're sitting in the booth, and all of a sudden they just pull out instruments, like saxophones start blowing, and they form a booth together, make it like a walkway, and yeah, the best song was I would say it was at the beginning of the film, like after the songs, like after Let It Ride. The songs, I didn't think they were not that great after that. Maybe the song that was playing at the end when they saved the whole thing, when they saved the building. Maybe that's it, but the rest of the song in the middle I didn't care for. Let It Ride was the best one. So, but I was saying that Queen Latifah, she's playing herself, and then she was like playing another character in the same. I don't know about that one. But yeah. So all said and done, the Country Bears. It's a review and a rant. There's things I liked about it. It's like the opening song, "Let It Ride." I do like that song. The effects of the bear suits I thought were good. Haley Joel Osment, I thought he was at most decent, because honestly nowadays, well, he was in Kevin Smith's Tusk, which didn't like that film, and Haley Joel Osment, I'll probably say he was much decent as this character than that character in Tusk. But I will say this: his voice and was decent. I would say. For the other stuff that the voices, like the other voices, like Diedrich Bader, I think he was better off. He's like a split performance, one bad performance and the one decent performance. Like, he's better at voicing Ted, the one with the glasses, and then he was decent. His voice was decent as Ted, but he plays that officer was bad with a fake mustache. And the guy, Daryl Mitchell from Galaxy Quest, the jokes between the two cops, the two bumbling cops, which I don't care for, the whole joke of, in films, two bumbling cops. And there's the whole thing where they go through the car wash, where they stupidly stick their heads out and they get sucked in, and one, like, Daryl Mitchell gets like a big afro, and Diedrich Bader is like hair is like slicked all the way back. And also the brother to Barry, now it's like, oh, now I like you now. You're not such a doofus after all, basically. Yeah, that sorry, I don't buy that. It still does not make up for all the things you said to him at the beginning of the film. Sorry. Stephen Tobolowsky, I thought he's a decent actor. I like him in other films. So he's not bad in this, you know, because I guess I like him. Score by Christopher Young. There's not much about it. Yeah. Yeah, it's understandable why people don't like the film. I'm in the middle of the road with it. I think it's a 50-50 time. 50-50 time waster for me. But I was like, Peter forgot 10. He hates this film more than I do. He hates the film to death. Which, for good reason, I understand that. Or I understand for anybody who doesn't like the film. But to me, I'm 50-50 with it. You know. Guess like, with all these films, we wouldn't have to have films like Tower of Terror or this film. It would start this whole trend of, you know, based on Disney attractions, especially Pirates of the Caribbean launched that. But yeah. Which I think the attraction's not around anymore. I think they closed like all the way back in 2001. So. But yeah, that's my review for the Country Bears. My review of / rant of it. So I'm like 50-50 on it. Some of the things I liked about it though, but more things it has more problems. It has a lot of flaws. Definitely. The ratings are understandable. 4.0 on IMDb and 30% Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah. The Country Bears, I think the biggest issue is Christopher Walken. It sucks about it. He's just so embarrassing in the film. I would still say I still like this better than Cat in the Hat. Alec Baldwin is much more embarrassing than Christopher Walken in this film, because in Cat in the Hat, you know, it's just that's his worst. You could say it's Alec Baldwin, and it's much more embarrassing. But Christopher Walken, you know, him dancing around his boxers, wearing green bunny slippers, and doing the armpit farting, and I'm sorry, Christopher Walken. I love Christopher Walken, but it's just, I would say it's his most embarrassing film that he's ever starred in, and it makes total sense why he was nominated for a Razzie for worst actor in the film. Well, for worst supporting actor, but he lost to Hayden Christensen and to Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, which that's understandable because Hayden Christensen attacked in the Star Wars prequels, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Christopher Walken is a lot better than Hayden Christensen. But yeah, but it's still understandable why he gets nominated because he's totally embarrassing in this film. So yeah, I'll say it's one of the worst ones that he's ever starred. One of the worst films he's ever starred in. But yeah, other than that though, there's some things I liked about it though, and it has features in this film. It has a Country Bears Out of the Woods mockumentary, which is like a documentary with the Country Bears, and there's a commentary with the director and Ted and Zeb on there on the commentary as well. They get the music video, Mixmaster Jamboree, the Country Bears Concert for America, ABC special. So yeah, but that's my review and rant on the Country Bears. It's a time waster for me. So, but Peter Frick out of 10. I know you hate this film a lot more than I do. Understandable, and I totally understand what you're mean, but I'm 50-50 on it, time waster wise. And especially it was with good effects by Jim Henson's company. That's another highlight of the film for me. But yeah, Country Bears, 50-50 on it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned on the next movie review. Later.